Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief program. Today, we're diving into some intriguing headlines that have caught our attention. First up, the US has ramped up its sanctions game, targeting Russia over the war in Ukraine, but with a significant twist. This time, Chinese and Hong Kong companies are also in the crosshairs. This marks one of the most extensive actions against Chinese firms, signaling a tough stance on China's support for Russia's military endeavors. Moving on, China seems to be sending a warm invitation to foreign visitors, urging them to spend freely within its borders, whether they're fans of good old cash or prefer the slick convenience of mobile payment apps. Despite the high-tech embrace, there's a nod to inclusivity, ensuring tourists and the elderly aren't left fumbling in a cashless society. And in a heart-touching turn of events, Hong Kong singer-songwriter Xavier Wu, known as SY, shares his transgender journey through a powerful new song. The track, Obstacle Course, uniquely features lyrics sung by SY before and after his gender transition, offering an intimate glimpse into his transformative journey. Please stay tuned for the detailed stories on these fascinating developments. In a bold move that underscores the escalating tensions between global powers, the United States has unleashed a sweeping array of sanctions targeting Russia, with a particular focus on undermining Moscow's attempts to sidestep Western sanctions through Chinese companies. This action, as reported by the Japan Times, represents a significant escalation in the U.S. efforts to penalize Russia for its ongoing war in Ukraine, while also sending a stern warning to those aiding Moscow's military endeavors, notably China. The U.S. Treasury Department, in a decisive crackdown, has sanctioned nearly 200 entities, encompassing an unprecedented range of 20 companies based in China and Hong Kong. This move, detailed by Nikkei Asia, marks one of the most comprehensive actions against Chinese firms in the context of Washington's sanctions strategy against Russia. It follows a series of cautionary statements from the U.S. regarding China's support for Russia's military operations, highlighting a growing concern over Beijing's role in the conflict. South China Morning Post further elaborates on the U.S.'s strategic targeting of Chinese firms in this latest wave of sanctions against Russia. This initiative is aimed at curtailing Moscow's alleged efforts to circumvent Western sanctions with the aid of Chinese companies. The Treasury Department's sanctions encompass nearly 200 targets, including a notable focus on Chinese entities, while the State Department has designated over 80 targets for sanctions. This includes almost 20 companies based in mainland China and Hong Kong, reflecting a broad and determined effort to disrupt the support network facilitating Russia's military campaign. This series of sanctions comes in response to the devastating war in Ukraine, which has led to the tragic loss of tens of thousands of lives and the widespread destruction of cities. The U.S.'s targeted measures against Chinese companies signify a critical juncture in Washington's sanctions regime, aiming to close loopholes that have allowed Russia to continue its military operations despite international condemnation. By taking aim at the financial and logistical network supporting Moscow's war efforts, the U.S. is intensifying its campaign to isolate Russia on the global stage, while also sending a clear message to China and other nations about the consequences of supporting Moscow's actions. The implications of these sanctions are far-reaching, not only in terms of their immediate impact on the targeted Russian and Chinese entities, but also in their potential to reshape international relations and alliances. As the U.S. continues to enforce and expand its sanctions regime, the global community watches closely, aware that the repercussions of these measures will reverberate beyond the immediate conflict in Ukraine, potentially altering the dynamics of international diplomacy and economic cooperation. In summary, the United States' recent sanctions against Russia, with a significant focus on Chinese companies, represent a pivotal moment in the international response to the war in Ukraine. By targeting the networks that enable Russia's military operations, the U.S. is reinforcing its commitment to holding Moscow accountable, while also challenging those who would aid in circumventing international sanctions. As the situation evolves, the global community remains attuned to the unfolding consequences of these actions, hopeful for a resolution that brings an end to the conflict and restores peace and stability to the region. In a world that's rapidly digitizing, China is making strides to ensure it remains a welcoming destination for foreign visitors, eager to spend their money, whether through the traditional means of cash or the modern convenience of mobile payment apps. According to the South China Morning Post, the country has somewhat slowed its march towards becoming a completely cashless society. This move is not only to accommodate the elderly population within its borders, but also to ease the way for tourists from around the globe. Recognizing the pivotal role of mobile payment giants like WeChat Pay and Alipay, China has enabled these platforms to link with international credit cards since last summer. However, this integration hasn't been without its challenges. Foreigners face restrictions, such as not being able to use QR payment codes for personal transactions and the cumbersome process of linking their foreign cards, which requires disclosing personal information. To smooth out these wrinkles, Chinese authorities are working diligently. They're enhancing financial arrangements for visitors by increasing the number of businesses and ATMs that accept foreign cards. Furthermore, the People's Bank of China and the Beijing municipal government have issued guidelines to expand the acceptance of foreign e-wallets and to simplify the ID requirements for foreigners using payment apps. This concerted effort also includes directives for hotels and major tourist attractions to accept overseas bank cards and to provide more foreign exchange services. The overarching goal is clear: China wants to make it as easy as possible for foreign visitors to spend their money within its borders, regardless of whether they prefer to do so in cash or through digital means. This initiative comes at a time when the use of cash in China has seen a significant decline, with QR codes becoming the dominant method of payment. In a different vein, the South China Morning Post brings to light the inspiring journey of Hong Kong singer-songwriter Xavier Wu Xuan, known as SY, who has bravely shared his transgender experience through his music. His latest song, Obstacle Course, uniquely features lyrics sung both before and after his gender transition and surgery. Assigned female at birth, SY embarked on his transition to male in his early 20s, an experience that brought about profound changes to his voice due to testosterone therapy. The song, complemented by a music video showcasing SY's body and surgical scars, seeks to raise awareness about the transgender experience and offer inspiration to others navigating similar paths. SY's commitment to using his music as a platform for awareness and change is evident as he plans to release more songs centered on themes of self-care and is even considering creating a duet that utilizes both versions of his voice. His journey, marked by struggles with gender dysphoria and mental health issues, is a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of sharing one's story to help others feel less alone. Meanwhile, on the geopolitical stage, tensions between the United States and China seem to be reaching new heights. According to a report by the Associated Press, a survey conducted by the Pew Research Center reveals that over 40% of Americans now view China as an enemy, a significant increase from just 2 years ago and the highest level recorded in 5 years. Additionally, while half of the Americans surveyed see China as a competitor, a mere 6% consider it a partner. This shift in perception can be attributed to a myriad of factors, including the US-China trade war, the global COVID-19 pandemic, human rights concerns, and China's policies towards Taiwan and Hong Kong. These findings underscore the complex challenges facing the Biden administration as it seeks to navigate the delicate balance of stabilizing US-China relations while addressing the myriad issues that contribute to the growing animosity between the two nations. From the efforts to make China a more accessible destination for foreign visitors to the personal journey of a Hong Kong singer using his platform to illuminate the transgender experience, to the shifting sands of international relations, these stories reflect a world in flux. They highlight the ongoing struggles for acceptance, understanding, and peace in a rapidly changing global landscape. In the intricate web of global finance, China's listed banks are feeling the squeeze as nearly 70% of them witness their interest margins tumble below the industry's critical threshold of 1.8%, as reported by Nikkei Asia. This financial turbulence is not just a set of numbers on a balance sheet, it's a symptom of deeper challenges including reduced lending rates, escalating funding costs, and a looming shadow of credit uncertainty, especially for the smaller and medium-sized banks that are the lifeblood of local economies. The impact of these shrinking margins is far-reaching, complicating the disposal of bad loans and potentially deterring the central bank from slashing the loan prime rate, a move that could breathe life into the economy. The situation is further complicated by what some observers describe as a lenient approach to assessing asset quality among Chinese banks, with fears that the real non-performing loan ratio could be alarmingly high, reaching up to 10% across the board and possibly spiking to 40% in the real estate sector alone. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, a different kind of challenge is unfolding. The South China Morning Post reports that occupational therapists are raising their voices, calling for the government to arm them with training and clear guidelines in anticipation of the mandatory reporting of child abuse bill that's currently under legislative scrutiny. This proposed system, which mandates 13 categories of professionals to report suspected child abuse or face penalties, has sparked concerns among occupational therapists about their preparedness to identify signs of abuse and the potential impact on the quality of services they provide. Their plea for support underscores the complexities of implementing such a critical system, highlighting the need for a collaborative approach to safeguard the well-being of the city's most vulnerable citizens. Adding another layer to Hong Kong's evolving educational landscape, the South China Morning Post reveals a significant shift in the aspirations of Form 6 graduates. There's been a 25% drop in the number of students heading overseas for their studies, marking a record low since official tracking began 12 years ago. This trend signals a change in the timing of students' decisions to study abroad, as well as a growing appreciation for the diverse opportunities offered by local post-secondary institutions. With 91% of students now choosing to further their education within Hong Kong and only 9% venturing abroad to places like mainland China, Taiwan, the UK, Australia, Canada, and the US, it's clear that the global educational landscape is undergoing a transformation. This shift not only reflects the evolving preferences of Hong Kong's youth, but also speaks to the broader dynamics of global mobility and the factors influencing educational choices in today's interconnected world. These narratives, spanning from the financial tremors in China's banking sector to the evolving educational choices in Hong Kong, weave together a tapestry of challenges and changes. They reflect the complexities of navigating the economic, social, and educational terrains in a rapidly changing world. Whether it's tackling the intricacies of financial margins, preparing professionals to protect the vulnerable, or understanding the shifting sands of global education, these stories highlight the importance of adaptability, collaboration, and foresight in addressing the multifaceted challenges of our time. In the bustling, ever-evolving financial landscape of Hong Kong, a series of strategic moves by major financial institutions and regulatory bodies are painting a vivid picture of the city's ambition to become a global hub for both traditional and digital asset markets. Amidst this dynamic backdrop, the South China Morning Post has been at the forefront of reporting these significant developments, offering a deep dive into the future of banking, lending, and monetary policy in Asia's world city. One of the most exciting developments comes from ZA Bank, a trailblazer in Hong Kong's virtual banking scene. The bank is setting its sights on expanding its offerings to include virtual asset trading services for retail investors. This bold move, as outlined by CEO Ronald Iu Manchung, is timed perfectly with the introduction of Hong Kong's new regulatory regime for digital assets, slated to come into effect in June. With only OSL and Hashkey currently licensed to serve retail investors in this space, ZA Bank's foray into digital asset trading is not just a testament to its innovative spirit but also a reflection of Hong Kong's broader ambitions to foster a more inclusive and regulated digital asset ecosystem. As the city continues to develop more digital asset trading opportunities, ZA Bank is positioning itself as a key player in supporting the digital sector and Web3 startups, heralding a new era of banking that bridges the traditional with the digital. Meanwhile, HSBC, a banking giant with deep roots in Hong Kong, is tapping into a different market segment by catering to the ultra-rich. The bank has reported a surge in loans to clients seeking to borrow against their illiquid assets, which include high-value items such as art, yachts, jets, single stocks, and private equity. In a world where uncertainty over interest rates looms large, HSBC's strategy to offer loans based on such unique collaterals underscores the growing demand for bespoke wealth advisory services. This trend is particularly pronounced among Asia's ultra-high net worth individuals, who, despite owning substantial assets, face challenges in liquidity. HSBC's quite active pipeline for these specialized loans highlights the evolving needs of the ultra-rich and the bank's agility in meeting these demands, further cementing its role in the region's wealth management landscape. On the monetary policy front, the South China Morning Post reports that the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA, has chosen to hold its base interest rate steady at 5.75%, mirroring the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to maintain its target rate. This decision comes amid ongoing concerns over stubborn inflation in the U.S., which has dampened expectations for a rate cut until possibly September. The HKMA's move is a critical one, as it underscores Hong Kong's commitment to preserving the local currencies pegged to the US dollar, a cornerstone of the city's financial stability. By aligning its interest rate decisions with the Fed under its linked exchange rate system, the HKMA is navigating the complex interplay between domestic economic considerations and global monetary trends, ensuring that Hong Kong remains a stable and attractive destination for global capital. Together, these developments, as reported by the South China Morning Post, offer a compelling glimpse into Hong Kong's financial sector's adaptive strategies and forward-looking policies. From embracing the digital revolution in banking to catering to the bespoke needs of the ultra-rich and ensuring monetary stability, Hong Kong is clearly charting a course towards a future where it stands as a pivotal financial hub, not just in Asia, but on the global stage. In the bustling world of finance and culture, from the corridors of the U.S. Federal Reserve to the vibrant streets of Singapore and the iconic legacy of British television, there's never a dull moment. Let's dive into a whirlwind of updates that keep the globe spinning in its ever-evolving axis. Al Jazeera recently shed light on a crucial decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve, which has opted to keep interest rates at a staggering 23-year high, a move driven by the stubborn persistence of inflation. Despite inflation's gradual easing, its slower-than-anticipated decline has led the central bank to maintain the benchmark lending rate at a tight 5.25 to 5.50%. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, in a stance of cautious optimism, underscored that inflation remains uncomfortably high and that any considerations for rate cuts are off the table until there's a clear trajectory towards the 2% target. This announcement initially sent U.S. stocks on a brief rally, though the markets ultimately settled mostly lower, as investors digested the implications of the Fed's steadfast approach. Powell's hint at the unlikelihood of a rate hike in the upcoming June policy meeting adds another layer of suspense to the financial narrative. Meanwhile, Bloomberg brings our attention to the evolving landscape of Singapore's office market, which appears to be on the cusp of a transformative phase. The once booming demand for office spaces, largely driven by the tech industry over an 8-year cycle, is showing signs of waning. Landlords in the city-state are now faced with the conundrum of identifying their next wave of tenants amidst a backdrop of increasing deals and vacancies that hint at an undercurrent of nervousness. With an additional supply of office space on the horizon, the question looms large: will there be adequate demand to fill these spaces? This uncertainty is compounded by Singapore's strategic efforts to diversify its business districts, aiming to attract a new breed of tenants to keep its commercial real estate vibrant and dynamic. On a lighter, yet poignant note, the Sydney Morning Herald brings us insights from Dame Joanna Lumley, the beloved star of the cult classic, absolutely fabulous. Lumley, with her characteristic wit and charm, posits that the iconic British show would struggle to find its place in today's cultural landscape. The reasons, she explains, stem from the evolving social standards that now view the show's hallmark behaviors, such as heavy drinking and smoking, through a critical lens. Lumley's reflections come as she prepares for a tour of Australia, promising to regale fans with stories from her illustrious career and life experiences. Absolutely fabulous, with its unapologetic celebration of excess and eccentricity, serves as a reminder of how the zeitgeist shapes and is shaped by the media we consume. In sum, from the strategic deliberations of the U.S. Federal Reserve to the shifting sands of Singapore's office market, and the cultural reflections stirred by Joanna Lumley's Absolutely Fabulous, we're reminded of the complex tapestry of economic, social, and cultural forces that define our world. Each story, whether rooted in policy, market dynamics, or entertainment, offers a unique lens through which to view the challenges and changes shaping our global narrative. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.